Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/am I the asshole for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading the post, giving you my thoughts and opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Electrical Dig 9541. Am I the asshole for ripping my daughter away from family? I, 25 female, and my husband, 26 male, recently had a baby. For context for the story, my husband and I grew up in different states on opposite sides of the country. When we both graduated college, he moved in with me in my home state. I had a very long, difficult labor. I almost died, and so did my child. She came out not breathing and was totally limp when she was placed on my chest. My parents are divorced. I am an only child. We live about 15 minutes from my side of the family. So far, after my daughter's birth, my mother has visited maybe 4 times. She shows up, takes a couple of photos for Facebook to show the world how great of a grandma she is, then leaves. My dad is very involved, but I struggle with that since him and I did not have a great relationship as I was growing up. He's been narcissistic, manipulative, emotionally abusive my entire life. This becomes important later. My husband's family lives about 11 hours from us and has seen the baby more than my own mother has. When we visited his family during the holidays, we were able to do date nights, have babysitters, not have the baby tied to us the entire day. Our laundry was done, we got to take naps, showers, whatever we needed to do to rejuvenate when our daughter had a rough night. When we visit my side, it's, let me hold the baby, as soon as we walk in the door, and we aren't even acknowledged. We've gotten no help from them, whatsoever. The area we live in is very expensive, and we currently rent an apartment. It's extremely difficult for us to get ahead enough to put a down payment towards a house because of the cost of living in our area. Recently, my husband and I have discussed the idea of moving closer to his family. Him and I have both been applying to jobs pretty religiously. Somehow, my dad got wind of this and threatened to not be involved in our lives anymore if we move and rip his granddaughter away from him. This personally was pretty hurtful because I'm his only child and he seems to be more concerned with losing our daughter than his own. These comments were very hurtful to my husband as well, who has seen my dad as a father figure since his dad isn't in the picture. My mother has made comments as well. My response has and remains that my husband's family made the effort to take flights to come see us. So, why can't they? I don't want to punish my dad since he is a good grandfather by moving, but we have no support system here in my home state and tons where my husband lives. I also want to eventually buy a home and settle down and put our daughter in a good school, which I know we can do where my husband's family lives. So, am I the asshole for thinking about relocating our family? Edit. I see a few comments about this, so I want to clarify. If we do decide to move, we would never put the pressure of daily childcare or anything like that on his family. We are looking to move to have a healthier support system, more efficient income, help when it is offered or absolutely necessary. Of course, she's our child. We would never go in with the expectation of someone else to take care of her. It's just nice sometimes to know we have help if it's needed. So your father has been abusive for your entire life, and the moment that you want to do something to better yourself, he threatens to just completely disappear and stop being there for you, even though this would be a better decision for you and your family. He's leveraging his support as a grandfather and his existence as a parent and grandfather on your continued misery. You have an option to get ahead in life and to start taking steps towards actually building a more comfortable future of getting a home, getting better schools for your child, getting yourself in a position where you can actually begin to save money and be more liquid with your income. Steps that at our age is smart. It's a good choice to make. Things right now are dicey and wiggly, and if you have an opportunity to potentially secure yourself a more stable future, take it. And your father's current reaction to you wanting to make that choice tells you that he hasn't actually changed. He's the same man, just wearing around a different mask that says grandpa instead. Accomplished Bag 66. Am I the asshole for not letting my sister bring her kids to my house because they're badly behaved? I, 34 female, love my sister, 37 female. And I don't hate her kids, 8 male, 6 female. But this situation has honestly pushed me to my limit. Her kids are loud and have no sense of boundaries. Every time they come over, they're always screaming and breaking things. My sister just laughs it off and says, "They're just being kids." I know kids do that, but it has started feeling like they think of my house like a playground. I work hard for what I have, and I hate feeling like I have to guard my house the entire time. After they leave, I have to clean everything and deal with the damage. My sister never offers to pay for anything or even apologize. I finally told her that until her kids can behave, they can't come over anymore. She completely lost it, accused me of hating children and said I'm punishing her for just being a mom. She told me I don't understand how hard parenting is, and now my parents are involved in telling me I should just child-proof my house and accept that kids will be kids. I'm being treated like the bad person for setting a boundary. I don't feel like I'm asking for anything extreme, I just don't want my house trashed every time they visit. Am I the asshole? Edit. Thank you for everyone for sharing your views. Sorry, didn't specify the damages in my original post, but her children have broken expensive glass decorations I have, and also broken a bed frame by jumping on my bed, among other things in the home. I'm planning on telling her that from now on we will meet in public spaces or her home, unless she's willing to control her children or pay for the damages. As for the comments saying it's obvious and what purpose of this post, in my culture family and kids come first, and seeing my parents agree with her, I wanted a second opinion. So, real quick again, because I talk about this pretty common in Am I Overreacting? Yes, there are going to be a lot of posts where it's just, well, duh, obviously you're not overreacting, or obviously you're not the asshole here. Why are you even asking this? But something to consider, and in case you've never heard this argument before, let me propose it to you. These are people who are surrounded by those that have the opposite opinion of what we consider to be a common reality. They are actively telling OP they are in the wrong for basic things that everyone sees plain as day are absolutely acceptable, like what we see here. The people closest to her are telling her that she's the one at fault for not wanting kids destroying her home and that she should be the one to childproof her home. And while it's obvious to us, like, yeah, that's fucked up, that's bullshit, you shouldn't have to deal with that. Usually the people in these scenarios are being fed the exact opposite of a common reality. So, it's always best to keep circumstances in mind that they're not always going to be universal, and remember that just because it might be obvious to you or to anyone else who's on the outside looking in, it may not be obvious to those who are on the inside looking out. So yeah, without a doubt, not the asshole. They're just establishing common boundaries, and their family are being bastards. And in my opinion, this isn't kids being kids. This is just lazy parenting. 6 and 8 years old should be more than old enough to understand not to break glass. Accidents are bound to happen, but they're accidents for a reason. However, the more that accidents begin to pile up, it begins to go from accidents to just negligence. Like, if you had a friend who is constantly in car accidents, you begin to wonder how many of those are actually accidents and how much of them are just negligence while driving. It's the same thing here with the parenting. How much of this is the kids actually just being kids, and how much of this is actually just negligence when it comes to her parenting abilities? Helpful Series 5291. Am I the asshole for choosing my future over my brother's second chance? The responsibility I never expected. I, 24 male, just got my first real job after college. I'm talking entry-level salary and living on instant noodles trying to build a life. My younger brother, 20 male, who won't get a real job but insists he's built for business, failed his first year after I paid his full tuition. He blew the money on whatever and a failed startup with his friends. He's helpless, begging for me to pay again. At this time, I only have a little savings. I used my savings to furnish an apartment, a bed, a couch, basics I've been struggling to get for a year with hopes of helping him out with some other money that haven't come in as I expected. My parents don't think I've done bad with my decisions, but it feels like a guilt trip. I overheard my brother on the phone with his friends, and they all think I'm heartless and don't care. My parents are almost silent on this matter. I finally feel stable, but the guilt is crushing. Am I the asshole for choosing to start my own life? What's the saying? Don't light yourself on fire to keep someone else warm? You gave your brother all the necessary tools to light his own fire, and instead of actually lighting the fire or building it or maintaining it, he doused it all with water and is now asking you to light yourself on fire instead. Your parents are probably being silent because they don't want to pick a side. Which, honestly, considering some of the other options, while not the best would be them actually coming to defend you and putting your brother in his place, them Taking the middle ground means that at least you're not dealing with golden child syndrome and them actively trying to guilt trip you into burning more of your savings to help the brother who's only probably going to waste the money a second time. The thing is, he and his friends can bitch and complain about how you're so heartless all they want, but at the end of the day, is that gonna have any effect on your day-to-day life? I mean, yeah, it sucks that people think of you that way, but is it actually going to make your day-to-day life worse? Do they have any influence on the people around you? I would hazard to guess, probably not. Except for maybe your brother. And what I would do is I would message him or email him or something where it's a paper trail exactly why you're not going to give him any kind of help or assistance because of how he previously squandered the opportunity that you handed to him on a silver platter. Then when he starts complaining, and if it ever finds its way back in your direction, you can show them the message and show them the interaction and explain to them exactly what happened and be done with it. Complain all you want, nothing you can do can unfuck the Thanksgiving turkey, buddy. Not the asshole. No broccoli, 2486. Am I the asshole for being rude to guests I didn't even invite? I, 28 female, live with my grandma. She doesn't live with me because of any health issues. We genuinely prefer living together rather than being separated. I really enjoy living with her. She's kind, never crosses boundaries, and we're really close. We laugh and joke around a lot. She braids my hair while I gossip about boys or my day at work, and she sometimes cooks my favorite meals when I'm feeling upset. Our living situation was peaceful and enjoyable. This started at my cousin's wedding. My sister, my grandma, and I were invited. It was a very traditional wedding and honestly kind of cute. But the after party was a hot mess. Everyone was dancing, it was loud, and I was already exhausted from the wedding. There was a weird tradition where the bride's family dances while everyone claps and the groom's family does the same. Since I'm family of the groom, I was asked to dance. I didn't want to. I was tired and my dress was really tight, but my grandma convinced me to. So I did. I don't think I did that bad, but after it was over and I sat back down, an older woman, I didn't even know, turned her head, looked me up and down, and said, "You don't dance that often, do you?" It was really rude and judgmental. I laughed it off to avoid starting drama, then I told my sister, and she told me to ignore it, and I did. What I didn't expect was that after the wedding, my grandma invited this same woman to come home with us. At first, I assumed it was just a ride, or that she'd stay for the night and leave. When we got home, I excused myself and went straight to sleep while she talked to my grandma. The next morning, she was still there. I left for work. When I came back, she was still there. I finally pulled my grandma aside and asked what was going on. She told me this woman was a guest and would be staying for a couple of days. I was upset because I was never asked or even informed beforehand. This is my house, and I feel I deserve a say in who stays here. It has now been 8 long days, and she is still here. She constantly inserts herself into my personal life and gives unsolicited opinions. If I complain about cramps, she tells me maybe I should work out more. If I'm crying to my grandma about something stressful that happened at work, she jumps in and tells me to suck it up and stop crying because I'm an adult. I never ask her for advice or opinions. She just butts in and says whatever she wants. To be clear, I have not been rude to her. I don't argue with her. I don't snap. I've only vented privately to my grandma, sister, and boyfriend about how uncomfortable and frustrated I feel. Instead of understanding, they tell me I'm being an asshole and that I'm rude, which feels insane to me because all I've done is express how bothered I am by someone overstaying in my home and disrespecting me repeatedly. Also, I am not from the USA, so some things may sound weird to you if you are from there. And English is my second language, so do correct me if I said something wrong. So according to OP, this is in fact her house. She owns it. Grandma lives with her. My guess would be is the reason why everyone in OP's proximity is saying they're being rude in the asshole is because this is 100% a cultural thing. OP also says she has no idea who this person is and she's too afraid to ask at this point. Like, no matter what, because this is OP's house, definitely not the asshole. This is an uninvited guest that is overstaying their welcome that she has no idea who she is and they're actively being rude to OP, the person who owns the house that she's staying in. OP needs to sit down and have a conversation with her grandmother about, well, all of this, pretty much. The fact that she doesn't know who she is, they're overstaying their welcome, that next time someone's invited over, it needs to be cleared with OP first before an unwanted guest is now living in the home for 8+ days. If I had to guess, she probably thinks the grandmother owns the house and OP is staying with her grandparents rent-free, or something along those lines, and that's why the disrespect is there. That doesn't change anything, that's more of me just thinking out loud. But honestly, I would first start out by having a conversation with your grandma, tell her she needs to go, her stay is over, and if she's not out by X date, the police will be involved. There's a really tricky balancing act here, because I'm sure OP doesn't want to upset their grandparent, and potentially getting the police involved would definitely do so, but you also shouldn't forego your own safety, sanity, and how you feel in your own home to placate someone who you literally have no fucking idea who they are. Carve out your boundaries in stone, and hopefully your grandmother isn't the type of person to choose some random friend over her granddaughter. Definitely not the asshole. David Red Fox. Am I the asshole for waiting in line at the grocery store while my parents finished shopping? This post opens with an all-caps edit that goes as follows. Thank you all who took the time to write a civil and constructive response. Due to the overwhelming amount of engagement and after more than 5 hours of continuous replying, I'm sad to announce I won't be interacting with the post or replies anymore. I can't keep up with each comment as there are way too many now. Thank you again for your time and those who upheld the values and rules of this subreddit. Let's find out what caused that. So I went to the grocery store today and the lines to pay were a bit crowded, so my parents asked me to already wait in line while they finished grabbing the last couple of items. We usually do this if there's a lot of people. If it's my turn to pay and they aren't there yet, I just let the person behind me pass so I don't stop the flow for obvious reasons. Even though that wasn't the case today, this afternoon, another customer was really angry because of this, claiming it was unfair and disrespectful to others that were waiting in line too, since you can only wait in line once you're finished shopping, not before that. I have no idea what's the logic behind his point of view, and he didn't even explain it to me then because of how frustrated he was. Is this a cultural thing? Am I wrong here? As far as I know, as a customer, you should abide by the rules of the establishment, and the grocery store has no rule against doing this. I didn't prevent other customers or the cashier from continuing their businesses, and I had to wait in line like everyone else, so am I the asshole here? If so, please let me know your logic in detail. I'm curious to know if I'm missing anything. :3 cat emoticon. Update. I need to clarify something. My apologies if I expressed myself wrong. English isn't my native language. When I mean couple of items, I'm talking about dog food only. The big bag that's heavy and a small bag with the little treats of different flavors. Everything on the same aisle. We forgot to pick it up when we waited in line, and they had to take the shopping cart because it was too heavy to carry all of it by hand from that aisle back to the cashier. We didn't think we had to go back of the line for forgetting one item that required the shopping cart to carry. That's why I was left there waiting. Shout out to Beta Lisa and the other Redditors that suggested I should add this info as context. I don't believe the final edit because it is incongruent with the body of the paragraph. To me, it sounds like someone's trying to save face without realizing there's contradictory information. OP states in the update as if this was a one-time thing. They got in line, but the cart had to be taken because they forgot the dog food just this once, when previously they stated, "We usually do this if there's a lot of people. If it's my turn to pay and they aren't there yet, I just let the person behind me pass so I don't stop the flow for obvious reasons, even though that wasn't the case today." This, which it could be because English is not their first language, makes it sound as though this is common practice where one of them will wait in line and then the shopping cart will show up later. And the reason why I specifically think it means the shopping cart is showing up later is because of the fact that if you're waiting in line and you're waiting for your parents and you have items in your cart, why not just get the cart scanned and ready? I highly doubt that this would be the cashier's first time of dealing with a kid who had a shopping cart full of stuff while the parent had to go grab something they forgot. That's pretty common. However, if the shopping cart wasn't there, there wouldn't be any items to scan. If the shopping cart also wasn't there, it'd be pretty easy to let people pass. To me, the language and wording makes it sound as though it's pretty common for OP just to hold a place in line, alone, then the parents show up with a shopping cart, and yeah. Which, if that is the case, then yes, OP would be the asshole. User PM me sexy sandwich puts it very nicely. You're the asshole. Most people shopping don't have someone with them to send the line in advance to hold their place. So yeah, it's rude to do so. People choose lines based on who is there and how much stuff they have. People have queued up behind you thinking you have maybe one thing or are grabbing something at the register. Then, all of a sudden, more people come up with a full cart enjoying you. That's a shitty thing to do to the people behind you. Have you ever been in line for a ride at a theme park and a bunch of people go in front of you to join their friend that was holding their place? Same thing. Get in line when you're ready for it. And the thing is even if this was actually just a one-time thing and this is a difference of English not being their native language, them still showing up late with a shopping cart is still an asshole thing to do. Even if the shopping cart missing to grab a bag of dog food was in fact a one-time thing. Tricky Arm 8939. Am I the asshole for not picking up my sister's kids from our school? My sister has 3 kids. The oldest lives with my parents and has their entire life. The youngest 2 live with my sister. I have 2 kids of my own. Our town does not have bus transportation for kids that live in our town or out of district limits. At the beginning of Christmas break, my sister's car broke down. My dad drove it to a shop where it's been sitting ever since. The day it broke down, my sister was given my dad's vehicle to borrow. My parents have 2 vehicles and my dad is retired. So, for the length of Christmas break, it wasn't a huge issue. My mom works 7 out of every 14 days, 3 days 1 week, 4 days the next. I told my dad before New Year's Eve that if my sister still didn't have a car by the time school started, she'd have to figure out transportation for the kids that live with her for days that my mom works. My husband and I share a vehicle, and he leaves for work immediately after I get home from picking up our kids. We live right down the road from my parents, so picking up and dropping off the child that lives with them isn't a big deal. My sister lives in a different city and pays public transit to bring her kids to the schools in our town every day, but doesn't have them take the public transit home. And at least once a week, relies on my father to pick up her kids and take them home. Today came the day I knew was coming. My mom has to work, my dad has no vehicle, and my sister's middle kid needs a ride home from school. My sister's youngest is at the dad's today, so that's covered. My sister never figured out transport for the middle child. My car cannot safely fit 3 across in the back seat with car seats and booster seats, so the only kid I have room to pick up is the one that lives with my parents. I don't have time to make multiple trips to the schools before my husband leaves for work, and will not transport more kids than is safe to do so. Roads and sidewalks are clear of snow, it's above freezing, and the walk from school to my parents' house is less than a mile. They've walked to my parents from school before. It's not new to them. So I told both my parents and my sister that she'll have to walk home. Like I said, well before today got here. I'm being told my husband can leave late for work, and that I have a grudge against my sister, so I'm refusing to help her and taking it out on her child. Am I the asshole? To be clear, the middle child needs to get to my parents' house, not her house in another town. My parents set it up with me beforehand to bring the oldest to their house. My sister waited until 2 hours before school got out to message me. I hate to be the kind of person to say I had to walk uphill both ways to school, but, I used to have to walk a mile to school every morning from the time that I was in 4th grade. Hell, there were multiple mornings because of my extremely poor time management that I would walk to school with wet hair and end up with it frozen by the time I got there. It was a free hairstyle. Loved it a lot. Also, actually, I kind of miss walking to school in the mornings. I miss seeing the dense fog freezing on the trees and creating almost frosted leaves, and just the feeling of just the cool air, the silence. Damn. I wonder if that's why I'm a night owl. The silence and the fact that I can go for a walk at any time and re-experience that feeling, at least during the winter. But this post boils down to the fact that OP's sister is not planning properly, and is expecting people to take time out of their days to cover something which was only made aware of 2 hours before it happened. Everyone else was able to see that this problem would occur, but she made no attempt at trying to plan around it, didn't communicate with anyone that this would be a problem, and I'm sure that everyone just assumed, maybe she found a solution for it. But no, OP can't safely transport all the kids because of how the seats are laid out, and if she did 2 trips, that would potentially cause her husband to be late for work. The temperatures are within reason, and the kids have made the walk in the past before, so I don't see why the kid can't just walk from school To the parents' house, it's only half a mile. That's maybe 8 minutes if you have a decent pace. Granted, that's 8 minutes from me and my long-ass lanky legs, so it might actually be closer to 10 minutes or so. But still, make an experience out of it. Get an old iPod Nano and some wired headphones and put on some 2010 dubstep that you downloaded illegally from YouTube using an MP3 converter. Get the full experience while walking home from school. It builds character. God, I need to find my old, iPod Nano and iPod Touch 2 and just find that music on there and just kind of, re-experience the playlist I lived and died by as an edgy 10 to 13-year-old. But, yeah, not the asshole, and the sister's behavior is just wonky as hell. I know I'm goofily focusing on walking home from school and how it's not that huge of a deal, but the main issue at hand here is the sister's reaction, and how she's blaming OP for taking out her anger on her towards her kids, and the fact that, well, your husband can just be late to his job because of my poor planning. That's not how that works. Posted by Hub's driving skills. Am I the asshole for joking about my husband's driving in front of his friend? Hi, I know this seems like such an embarrassingly trivial issue, but I still want to ask. When my husband drives, he gets heated about things happening on the road, like someone taking too long to merge, a pedestrian taking their sweet time in crossing the street, etc. It ruins the drive for me, and I have brought it up with him in the past. I do want to say, though, that as far as his driving skills go, I have full faith in them. He's great at the technical side of things, parallel parking, driving in traffic, and I'm not afraid of him causing an accident. It's just the vibe that's the problem. Yesterday, we were visiting his friend and his wife for dinner. The topic of driving in downtown came up. It led to driving skills, and I just joked that my anxiety gets triggered when he's driving. My husband also laughed back and joked, or so I thought, that I've never complained when he's driving. And I was like, yes, I have. The other people found it amusing too. When we got home and were still in the parking garage, he said he got me back safe and sound, contrary to everyone's expectations. I thought he was saying it lightly, and I said, I've never doubted I'll get to my destination safe and sound. Just the fact that he gets a bit worked up. He said if that were the case, I should have specified that at dinner rather than implying that he's an incompetent driver. That's when I realized he'd taken offense to what I'd said. I told him I'd said it as a joke, since we were having a light conversation. And he said it's just not something you say in front of others as a couple, that I'd put him down even if I didn't realize it. I apologized and said I didn't mean to do that. I've been thinking about it this morning, and I've been feeling bad about it, especially about us not being a team in front of others. I wanted to ask, am I the asshole for what I said? Okay, so I'm going to put this as a no assholes here. Maybe it could be argued for an everyone sucks, but listen to me first. Especially because I talk about both parties. While OP in the moment very clearly did not realize how they overstepped or where they overstepped, they don't believe they're in the right. They're simply asking Reddit if their behavior was asshole behavior, and they even admitted that they feel bad about this, and that they realize they should be a team with their partner, which tells me that this was an honest mistake and not one done out of malice. However, if OP was doubling down, they would be the asshole, because the comment of his driving makes me anxious can very easily be interpreted as, oh, his driving skills are bad. His driving skills make me anxious, especially because the conversation was preempted by driving skills. Not his comments that he makes in the heat of the moment. He probably felt on edge or attacked in that by his own partner, and probably felt as though the looking glass was on him, and now there was the impression that he's a bad driver from those around him, that he isn't a safe person. There definitely should have been some specificity as to what causes your anxiety to rise, and there wasn't. And also, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with, vocal comments to yourself while driving about stupid people doing stupid things. I would argue that's far healthier than actually taking that anger out into the gas pedal or the steering wheel. Being like, ah, you fucking idiot, when someone cuts you off by merging right in front of you right before a stoplight. Oh, I see we just chose not to use our eyes today, huh? Or even one of my favorites, easy there, goofball. Or even actually just yelling like, why the fuck did you do that? Stuff like that. Well, that might cause anxiety. That is, in my opinion, a healthy way to get that anger out of your system so that way it doesn't turn into you suddenly putting other people's lives at risk. Because at no point did OP mention that the anger is in the way that he drives. There's never a question of the safety of his driving, it's just his reactions and the vibe of driving are anxiety-inducing. Now, if he was a danger on the road, we would definitely be having a different conversation here. Now, that being said, there is also the other half of this which is important. You need to have a conversation with your husband about how his anger makes you feel while he's driving. He needs to be made aware, in a more constructive and productive setting, that when he has the road rage that he has, even though it is not expressed in a mechanical way, it still makes you feel uncomfortable or anxious, and it is still something that affects you. Now, while I doubt this is the case from his reaction at dinner and his inability to correct the specificities, if this isn't your first time bringing this up with him and he has continued or shown no signs of improving this behavior, then he would be the asshole. Or potentially an everyone sucks here situation. Reddit has deemed OP the asshole, but I think there's a bit more nuance to this one personally, but let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd be very curious on this one if maybe I'm being too soft or if I'm being too harsh or maybe I'm just not seeing the full picture here. So please, let me know below. Hey, welcome to the outro. Don't forget this whole thing is basically brought to you by GamerSupps. If you like caffeine, then I can't recommend GamerSupps enough. Use code OZ at checkout to support the channel. And I do actually use this product. It's replaced all other sources of caffeine for me because I feel good. It doesn't have any of that extra stuff that a pre-workout blend might have. It's with a couple of the extra things to make it so you don't crash as hard. It's good. I like it. Personally, if you really want a good flavor, try the Soda Pressing Pear or even the Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are my personal favorites right now.